Are you curious where we are with the Red Hood storyline? Let me explain. Jason Todd is a character that has two different yet similar histories depending on the continuity that you're following. Jason Todd first appeared in Batman 357 in 1983 and was created as the new Robin to take over for Dick Grayson after the character stopped being Batman's sidekick. Originally, he was very much like Dick Grayson, even looking the same in costume. After Crisis on Infinite Earths, Jason's origins were actually changed. Now he was a street punk whose mother died of an overdose and father disappeared after working for Two-Face. Jason is then caught by Batman when he is stealing the wheels off of the Batmobile. Believing that if he doesn't help Jason, he will become a criminal, Batman takes the boy to Ma Gunn's home for wayward boys, unaware that it is actually a training school for criminals. Jason helps Batman take down a gang and after some training is brought in as Robin. But Jason is a rebellious Robin, regularly defying Batman's orders and using excessive force on criminals. Jason wasn't very popular with the fans, and in 1988 it was voted that he would be killed off, and the death of the family storyline. Jason headed to the Middle East to track down his birth mother, and he's captured by the Joker. He's beaten with a crowbar and left in a warehouse to explode. Batman arrives too late to save him due to the vote, and Jason is killed. Years later, after the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superboy Prime's punches alter the very fabric of time and space, and Jason is resurrected. He claws his way free of his grave, and he wanders around with no memories of his past until he is taken in by Talia al Ghul. He then regains his memories and is trained further by the League of Assassins. Jason would then take up the mantle of Red Hood and return to Gotham to get revenge on the Joker for killing him, and on Batman for not killing the Joker for killing Jason. As Red Hood, Jason would attempt to gain control of the criminal underground of Gotham to fight against Batman, but he's easily defeated by the Dark Knight. At this point, Jason would then appear randomly throughout the DC universe, either as an anti-hero out for redemption or a murderous hero fighting against the Bat family. Overall, he would believe that they all betrayed him and that he was the rightful heir to the Bat-Cowl. His portrayal would then change drastically depending on who was writing him, either as a dark, serious fighter or a weird anti-hero spouting one-liners. During DC's reboot of the New 52, Jason would then get a new lease on life, literally and figuratively. In the New 52, Jason's origins are roughly the same. During the Zero-Year event in Batman, we see Jason Todd living in Park Row, and he's stealing to help take care of his drug addict mother. He's then given a chance to join a revival of the Red Hood gang during the Zero-Year, but is attacked by Talia al Ghul. Talia is impressed with Jason's fighting skills, and after she wipes out the gang, decides to keep an eye on the young boy. After his mother dies, Jason is living on the streets and he attempts to steal the wheels off of the Batmobile. Instead of punishing him, Batman decides to feed the boy, realizing that Jason could grow up to be a criminal. Batman takes him to Ma Gunn's home for wayward boys, and after discovering that the home is training criminals, Batman and Jason take down the gang. Once again, Batman takes Jason in and trains him for 6 months before making him the new Robin. During his time as Robin, Jason would meet Roy Harper. The two would become friendly, and Jason would promise to be there for the other not-so-great sidekick if he should need him. During this time, Jason and Bruce would butt heads over Jason's disregard for orders and more rage-filled fighting style. Just like in the pre-Flashpoint timeline, Jason would learn that his birth mother is alive, and he would track her down to the Middle East, where he is then captured by the Joker. Joker would explain that he has orchestrated several events in Jason's life, and he would beat him nearly to death, leaving him to explode in the warehouse in this version of the origin as well. And now we reach the major changes. 6 months after his death, Talia al Ghul would travel to Gotham, where she would retrieve Jason's body and bring him to the League of Assassins and resurrect him in the Lazarus Pit. This was considered to be a cleaner way of resurrecting Jason Todd, because as we got farther away from the whole Superboy Prime situation, trying to tell people that an evil Superboy punched a hole through the fabric of space and time became harder to explain. So in this version, she would bring Jason to the All-Cast and ask that they train him. Jason completed his training with the All-Cast, though he still worked to control his anger. He would then join the League of Assassins, but left the League when he decided that they didn't truly seek justice. He would return to Gotham as Red Hood to get revenge on the Joker and Batman for what happened to him. Jason would then continue to be the black sheep of the Bat family, but wouldn't fight against them nearly as often as he did in the pre-Flashpoint universe. Jason would travel the world as Red Hood, being an outlaw and anti-hero, and eventually meet Starfire, who was way more promiscuous during this time and seemingly didn't remember Dick Grayson. The two would form a bond, and Jason would also learn that Roy Harper was going to be executed, and and Karak and rescued him, not wishing to be known as the worst sidekick should Roy die. The trio form a new group known as the Outlaws, who usually did morally questionable things in the name of justice. Jason would learn that the members of the All-Cast were being wiped out by a group known as the Untitled. Alongside the Outlaws, Jason would hunt down the members of the Untitled, and he would eventually learn that their leader was an assassin known as the Essence, the daughter of his teacher and former lover. Jason would then use the All Blades to defeat Essence and get revenge for his teachers. Jason would then quickly return to Gotham, where he would help with the Court of the Owls event, though he was still on the outs with the Bat family. After defeating the court, Jason was then approached by Damian Wayne, who decided that he had to defeat the past Robins to prove himself. Damian would defeat Jason by using a crowbar and haunting him, though Jason maintains that he just wasn't going to beat up a little kid. During the Starfire event, Jason is on a date with a flight attendant when the Outlaws are captured and brought into space. Isabel Ardilla is forced to fight with the group while they fight against the Blight until their return to Earth. Having developed a bond, the pair decide to go on a date to Gotham City. While in Gotham City, the Death of the Family event takes place. Though he still is on the outs with the Bat family, Jason is invited to the Bat Cave, where Batman reveals that the Joker knows everyone's secret identities. Jason would then eventually be captured by the Joker, who revealed that he had caused many of the events in Jason's life to create a Robin that would cross the lines that Batman refused, thus torturing Batman at the same time. Joker then tried to force Jason and Tim to fight, but the pair decided to work together to escape. Joker recaptures them, gassing the entire Bat family in the hopes that they'll kill each other. But the family overcomes the Joker gas and manages to save themselves. After the Joker is defeated, Jason then returns to the manor to say goodbye to everyone. He has some parting words with Bruce before putting on his helmet. That's when it's revealed that the Joker booby-trapped the Red Hood helmet and toxins are putting Jason into a coma. When Jason finally wakes up, he's shocked to find that Bruce hasn't left his bedside. Over in the Batman Incorporated series, Batman ends up putting together an international Bat family to fight crime. He believes that Jason needs a second chance at being a hero, so Batman gives him the persona of a wingman, which is a terrible name, and had him work alongside Damian as Redbird. After Damian's death, Bruce attempted to bring him back in the same way that Jason had been. Believing this is wrong, Jason fought against Batman, letting him know that the way that Jason was revived wasn't great for his mental health. Following this, Jason would learn that Ra's al Ghul has taken control of the Untitled and was attempting to reach godhood. He returned to the All-Cast, who informed him to fight against Ra's, Jason would need to be in his purest form. To reach this state, any memoirs that have been touched by darkness were removed from Jason's mind, which was like all of them. When the Outlaws discovered that Jason didn't remember anything about them or even his past life, they took him to their base of operations to show him. Jason believed that he was nothing more than a killer after learning of his history, and he escaped the Outlaws. Jason was then approached by Bronze Tiger and the other members of the League of Assassins, who wanted him to be the new leader. Roy and Corey arrive to help their friend, but are defeated, and then Jason agrees to lead the Assassins if the Outlaws are spared and they are locked up. To save his friends, Jason is forced to retrieve all of his memories and is working alongside Cheshire. He then frees the Outlaws. Afterwards, he's approached by the Essence, who wants Jason to return to the All-Cast, but he decides against it, leaving for the Outlaws. The Outlaws try to take a much-needed vacation after all of this, but they end up in several adventures, such as fighting against wealthy criminals on an island retreat, going into space to rescue Roy after he's kidnapped by alien mercenaries, and fighting alongside Clan Batman, which is going against Clan Superman on Warworld. Following this, the group fought against alien slavers and the arrival of Hellspawn's army on Earth. After Roy is burned by Corey's powers, he's then healed by the Essence. But after the adventure, Corey heads off into space and the Outlaws decide to disband completely and go their separate ways. Meanwhile, over in Batman Eternal, Jason returns to Gotham to help the Bat family unravel a mystery of who is trying to destroy the Bat family. After Commissioner Gordon is framed for murder, Jason works alongside Batgirl and Batwoman to find evidence to free him. They learn of a much larger scheme involving Cluemaster and eventually Lincoln March, who had been plotting against Batman since the Court of the Owls event. Jason would then fight alongside his family against the villains trying to destroy it. When the city is safe, he would disappear. Jason would then return to Gotham for the Robin Rises storyline, when Batman revealed to his family that he was going to Apocalypse to resurrect Damian, who at the time was dead due to the Batman Incorporated storyline. Believing that he shouldn't go alone, the Bat family would follow him after they kidnapped Cyborg and force him to open up a boom tube. The family would then discover that Darkseid created a planet-destroying weapon and would fight alongside Batman to destroy it. Once they got back to Earth, Damian was then resurrected by a Chaos Shard. Jason would then take part in Joker's endgame event, fighting against the Joker-infected citizens of Gotham. After Bruce and Joker are seemingly killed beneath the Batcave, Jason would once again leave Gotham City. This leads us over to a short-lived series, Red Hood and Arsenal Heroes for Hire. Jason and Roy once again team up to become mercenaries for hire, going by the title Rent a Bat. After several adventures, they are headed to Gotham City, where Jason meets the new Batman, which at the time is a GCPD-funded Jim Gordon. Though he isn't a fan of the idea, Jason works alongside the new Batman to defeat the villain known as Underbelly. Before leaving the city, though, Jason discovers that Bruce is still alive, but has no memories of his past. He hugs Bruce and thanks him for everything, and decides to leave Gotham once more. After leaving the city, Jason is then attacked by Joker's daughter, who informs him that she killed Roy. After a brief fight, Joker's daughter escapes and leads Jason to a group of criminals calling themselves Heroes Manifesto. Jason learns that Roy is still alive, and that Joker's daughter planned all of this to lead the two heroes to a secret criminal group. The trio then defeat the Heroes Manifesto, and Jason decides to take Joker's daughter under his wing so that he can help her with her traumatic past. Meanwhile, over in the Batman and Robin Eternal storyline, Jason teams up with Tim Drake to learn more information about the mysterious enemy known as the Mother, who created tragedies in children's lives to mold them and take them in to be her soldiers. The pair travel to Santa Prisca, where they discover that it is now being controlled by the Order of Saint Dumas, which is working alongside Mother. The pair work alongside Bane to overthrow the Order and then fight against Azrael, the Order's Angel of Death. The pair steal information on the Order and Mother, and they return to Gotham. But Mother's true plan was to use the satellites to mind control the children of the world into becoming a part of her empire. Luckily, the Bat family was able to stop Mother's plan because, of course, they are. Anyway, moving on. During all of this, the Robin War event took place. In this event, we saw several Gotham Street kids take up the mantle of Robin to protect the streets of Gotham. Jason worked alongside the other Robins to help train these children and teach them discipline, but the Robins would eventually go to war against the Court of Owls. After Damian joins the court to try and control them, believing that it is what Batman would do, the Robins must battle against each other. The war ends when Dick Grayson agrees to join the court, which is what the court wanted all along. Following these events, Red Hood ends his partnership with Arsenal and takes up residence in Gotham once more, working alongside Batman to go undercover in the Gotham underworld. After faking an assassination attempt against the mayor, Red Hood is then approached by Black Mask to be his personal mercenary. During a mission, Red Hood comes into contact with the Amazon Artemis. The two fight briefly before Jason reveals that he is undercover, and the two start to work together. Artemis is eventually captured by Black Mask, who also captures and brainwashes Bizarro, or at least one kind of Bizarro, but we're just going to call him Bizarro moving forward. Jason feels bad for Bizarro and even ends up liking the failed clone. After Black Mask reveals that he knows Red Hood is a double agent, he offers him a real spot on his crew, but Jason refuses after freeing both Artemis and Bizarro, defeating Black Mask and his crew. Afterwards, the trio decide to work together, forming a new team of outlaws known as the Dark Trinity. The new team begin to work together, but Jason learns that Bizarro could fail like the other clones and go haywire, potentially destroying the world. So, believing that he must kill Bizarro, Jason acquires a kryptonite bullet and prepares to shoot Bizarro in the head. But Bizarro reveals that he cares for Red Hood and Artemis, Red him and Red her, and Jason decides against killing his new friend. The outlaws continue their adventures, hunting down the Bow of Ra, eventually finding it with Artemis's former lover, Aquila. During the fight, Bizarro is severely wounded. While they try to treat his wounds, they're approached by Lex Luthor, who heals the clone and raises his intelligence with kryptonite. Afterwards, Bizarro sets up their own floating invisible fortress beneath and above Gotham. Secretly, Bizarro has become addicted to kryptonite and wanted to continue to make himself smarter. After the team is captured by Amanda Waller, they're then forced to go on a mission to destroy a colony in the Earth's crust. After their success, the team escapes Waller and returns to Gotham. It is there that Artemis and Jason realize the level of Bizarro's addiction and convince him to give up his pursuit of kryptonite. Following this, Jason would receive a letter from his father, Willis Todd, revealing that he committed several crimes to help provide for Jason. But Willis had been hired by the Penguin to take the fall for a crime he didn't commit and was sent to prison. There he was approached by the government to take part in an experiment, and his death was faked. Furious, Jason went after the Penguin and on live television revealed his face and name, believing that Cobblepot would just be released if he was sent to prison. So Jason instead shoots him through the eye, though it is revealed that he shot him with a blank. For this, Batman hunts Jason down, but Jason manages to escape and return to the Outlaws' fortress. It is there that it is revealed that the fortress is breaking down as Bizarro's intelligence diminishes. Both Artemis and Bizarro are sucked into a portal as the fortress disappears, leaving Jason alone and behind. Batman once again catches up to Jason, defeats him, preparing to put him into jail. Jason is then saved by Arsenal, who rescues his friend and returns them to the Outlaw's old island hideout. There, Roy explains that he's going back to the superhero rehab location known as Sanctuary, once again leaving Jason on his own. Jason returns to a darker path, taking on a more Casey Jones-like costume. After several missions, he's confronted by Batman, who reveals that Penguin has recovered from being shot and that Roy died at Sanctuary. After several more adventures, Jason returns to Gotham. He becomes the Prince of Gotham, and he begins to take over the Penguin's criminal empire, going so far as to trap Cobblepot in a secret room of the Iceberg Lounge while he does so. Jason then hires the former villains Susie Sue and Bunker to act as his bodyguards and must fight against the assassins that Cobblepot hires to stop him. Eventually, Bunker turns against Jason and frees Cobblepot, ending Jason's reign as the Prince of Gotham. Following this, Batman fought against the Leviathan organization. Batman hired a team of investigators to discover who was behind Leviathan. Jason was on the list of suspects, forcing the former Robin to flee the city. After this, Jason was approached by Lex Luthor, who asked him to train a group of teenage supervillains. Jason agreed, becoming the leader of the Generation Outlaws team. While Jason was training these new outlaws, Artemis and Bizarro did return, revealing that they had been surviving in another dimension since they disappeared. Jason quickly discovers that they are now being mind-controlled by a new villain known as Vessel, who wants to destroy the world. After freeing his old team from Vessel's control, Jason works alongside the two different outlaws teams to stop them. Jason would then leave after the City of Bane event, and for 5 issues, Gotham wasn't being controlled, and then he would return to Gotham for the Joker War event, where he would fight against Joker goons. He would also discover Punchline beating Joker's daughter with a crowbar, and after Jason is defeated by Punchline and the brainwashed Dick Grayson, he's dragged away and Punchline fakes killing Joker's daughter. Believing that he had failed to protect Duella Dent, Jason went after Dick and Punchline. He would continue to help the Bat family by holding off Dick while Tim disarmed bombs in a children's hospital. After defeating the Joker's army, Jason would then discover that Duella Dent is really alive and once again take her in as Joker's daughter. For a time, Duella would work alongside Jason and Artemis until she eventually overcame her trauma and decided to return to her family. Jason would then be involved in all of the major DC events following this. He was in Death Metal, he was in Infinite Frontier, and he was also in Fear State, but no major events happened to Jason during these. He was just there. Following all of these events, Jason would then take control of his own Suicide Squad known as Task Force Z, which included a group of dead villains that had been revived using Lazarus resin. During this time, Jason would get sort of revenge on Bane for killing Alfred during the City of Bane event, kicking the criminal off of a rooftop. Though later it was revealed to not actually be Bane, but it was actually revealed to be the old superhero known as Gotham that was introduced in Batman's Rebirth book back in 2016. And that Jason didn't actually kill this version of Bane because Gotham has Superman powers and is invincible. At the end of the whole thing, it turns out that Two-Face was trying to give Jason a second chance on life, and that Jason at some point had been revived with the Lazarus resin, but this series was all about zombies being on the Task Force Z squad and Jason controlling them, and at this point in time has mostly been forgotten that it even existed. During all of this, somewhere around Task Force Z, Jason got involved in a little bit of a mini-series in which he saved a kid from a drug-addled mother. He saw himself in the kid, and the kid even dubbed himself the Blue Hood. At the end of this adventure, in which Jason and Batman butt heads the entire adventure, Jason finally gives up the guns, deciding that he's going to go a more Batman-like route, which in theory would kind of conclude the Jason storyline. And I think it takes place before Task Force Z, but it could also take place after Task Force Z. But since it's a side story, every writer has forgotten that this even happened, and we move onward to Failsafe's assault on Batman, where Jason is once again using guns. During the Failsafe assault, Jason took part in the family's defense on their father and was defeated. When Batman returns from his multiverse adventures, he discovers that Selina has started her own cat burglar school, taking the normal hired goons of Gotham and giving them a new purpose to target only the rich and not use violence. This lowers the crime rates in Gotham. When she asks the Bat family to stay out of her way, Jason actually sides with Catwoman and the rest of the family against Batman. Selina brings Jason in to help train her crew, though he begins to use it as a way to start hunting the Joker again. During the Gotham War, Jason works alongside Nightwing to fight Batman, and the two even manage to hold him off, though Damian arrives to rescue his father. During all of this, Jason begins his his hunt for the Joker once more, intending to finally kill the Clown Prince of Crime. He's shocked to discover that there seems to be two Jokers now, with one causing mayhem on the West Coast and the other one having amnesia in Gotham. Jason apparently locates and kills the Gotham Joker, but is arrested in the process. Luckily, he's rescued by Spoiler and Ravager. Stephanie suggests that Jason just leave Gotham as Batman is hunting him, though Jason refuses. He is eventually captured by Batman, who decides that he must finally end Jason's reign of murderous vigilantism. Batman uses a new technique to force Jason to feel fear every time his adrenaline begins to spike. But Jason manages to escape and fights against this, still managing to rescue someone from a burning building even though he is overcome with terror. He's eventually captured by the Gotham Joker, who is fighting a war against the West Coast Joker. Gotham Joker infects Jason with Joker toxin to overcome what Batman did to him, and the two work together to stop the West Coast Joker, which is the real Joker. Despite what Batman thinks, Jason manages to stop the Joker's plan to gas the entire city, putting aside his need for revenge to be a true hero. After these events, Jason decides that he needs time to reflect and returns to his old neighborhood, The Hill, a place that we've never heard of that he's ever been to. But there he meets old friends that we've never heard of, who have taken up the vigilante personas, and after the events of Joker War, they intend to protect their neighborhood. Jason and Dana must work together to fight against a new villain, Tommy Max, who has decided that he wants to run a criminal empire. Jason and Dana manage to defeat Tommy and Killer Croc, saving the Hill, bringing you up to date on Red Hood as of 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let us know in the comments down below who else you want to have in this series.